looking for lurking statues that may be a threat to him and his family, more so than Governor Murphy, who's been a threat to everybody in the Garden State. He is the great John McMullen, our NFL and NBA insider, who has engaged himself in the biggest debate now going on in the city, Harry. You know what that is? Started by a local talk show host, Nick Foles. Well, no, that's another story. Zach Ertz for Jamal Adams. Do you make the trade, Harry?
No.
John McMullen?
No, absolutely not. Jamal Adams is a great player. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. First of all, the Jets don't want to trade him, number one.
Right.
Number two, the Eagles don't want to trade Zach Ertz. He's obviously very close with Carson Wentz. You're not going to make the quarterback very happy, both on and off the field. And then there's the realization that the reason there's an impasse with the Jets to begin with is because Jamal wants a contract extension, and that extension would make him and will make him, whenever it's signed with whatever team, the highest paid safety in the NFL. So if you look at the Eagles and their salary cap situation, they're scheduled to be $50 million over in 2021, and that doesn't even take into account the potential effects of COVID-19. So we don't know if there's going to be fans in the stands. We don't know if there's going to be 16 games. You see what's going on, positive tests all over the place. For the first time in history, the NFL salary cap is probably going to go down. So that $50 million could turn into $70 million. It's not financially feasible for the Eagles at this point.
Isn't it funny, John, how whenever a player of any kind of reputation is available, the Eagles are somehow connected in some weird way.
And the Eagles. That's what we always joke.
Yeah.
People that cover this team on it. I mean, and it's easy to do it because Howie Roseman admits he makes calls on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So he does due diligence, and he goes on record with that. He can't talk about specifics because that's tampering, but he says we always check, we always make the call, we always do the due diligence. So it's easy to put ... and the Eagles on these types of situations. Right. Now, Adam Schefter, Adam, nobody's plugged in more than Adam, but if you look at the words of his tweet, and he put out 7 teams, those are the teams that Adam's camp wants to go to. And agents are just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. They know how he's going to make the call, so they say, and the Eagles.
Right.
That's how that stuff works.
And it's smart. That's smart to do.
And then the Eagles fans see the Cowboys in there, and then they go berserk and say, we got to get them.
And now, I love, you know what I love? And this is good sports discussion when there's no sports.
Right.
Because it's an interesting proposal. But you wouldn't believe, I don't know if you saw the thread. Joe Giglio, who works at WIP, started this whole thing.
Oh, jeez.
And it's funny because it makes the phones ring, and we don't have to talk about statues and everything else for a couple of hours. And so you have all of these, deep-thinking people breaking down yards per catch. And Dallas Goedert has more yards per catch than Zach Ertz. And they got to get rid of. And then they have all the drops. Somebody put all 29 of Zach Ertz's drops on video and broke that down.
Is that right?
That's how deep this is going, Harry.
Wow.
Well, the Eagles wanted to extend Zach last season, and he didn't, and he's going to probably grow to regret that for the same reasons we just talked about COVID-19. So next year it might be a different financial landscape. So he wisely bet on himself because nobody could foresee any potential lowering of the NFL salary cap. Nobody could have predicted that. I don't care what anyone says. So it's not necessarily a bad way to go for Zach, but it's going to work out poorly for him. The only issue for Zach Ertz and the Eagles is potentially when you get to the situation where you have to extend Dallas Goedert, and at that time, some of the receivers, whether it's some of the younger receivers, Jalen Reagor, who knows, they have some later-round picks, John Hightower, Quez Watkins, maybe J.J. Arcega-Whiteside turns it around. If they turn into players, then you start thinking to yourself, well, we want to play more receivers, so we don't need 2 star tight ends. Mm-hmm. And then you might think about going the cheaper route and trying to trade Zach Ertz at that point. But that's way down the line, and there's a lot of qualifiers in that. Enough qualifiers to call me Dr. Fauci. If this happens, then maybe this happens. But
Wait a minute, John. Are you saying that the Eagles
line.
will not play a football season this year because of your concerns and Dr. Fauci making a couple of radio and TV appearances yesterday have really now put a damper on the season and we should shut it down? Are you going that far right now?
No,
Oh, yeah, I just checked.
and that's what I said. And by the way, again, if you read exactly what Dr. Fauci said or listen, he said if, and he said, which is certainly possible when he was talking about a second wave. These are all qualifiers. Everybody already knows this. But if you're going to be honest about this situation, and again, it doesn't have anything to do with, and you can say this about the NBA as well and Major League Baseball as well, they're not giving up that television revenue. And to get that television revenue, they have to provide content. So they are going to kick off the season. Now, I don't know how it's going to work out from there. If things turn drastically dire, anything could happen. But they are going to kick off this season. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how many fans are going to be in the stands or if any fans are in the stands. But they need that television money.
Right.
And to get that money, they have to provide content. Anybody who doesn't explain that to you is lying to you, and they're going off into a narrative.
Well, here's the meat of the quote from Fauci. If there is a second wave, which is certainly a possibility, and which would be complicated by the predictable flu season, football may not happen this year. End quote.
Yeah, how many qualifiers are in one sentence?
I know.
That's more qualifiers than a youth wrestling tournament. Where
that's pretty good
Wow.
right there. Wait a
Give
minute,
him a
give
rim
you
shot.
a round of applause there.
Give him a rim shot,
That ain't
too.
a rim shot. That's a good. That's deep local college or high school or even under 100-pound wrestling.
What weight class are we talking about here, John?
When those things used to happen, everybody who has kids or anything of that nature knows that everybody's allowed in.
Right.
So
Damn
there's
right.
a lot of qualifiers. And there's a lot of qualifiers in that sentence.
And listen, I don't hate Dr. Fauci. The guy's a doctor. The thing that people don't like
Now,
about
you gotta
Dr.
be
Fauci,
cautious.
the thing he's still a doctor. I mean, there's a lot of doctors. Dr. Joe Biden is a doctor. Joe Biden's wife, but she's not a medical doctor. You can have a doctorate and everything and still be called doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Vinny Boombatz was a doctor.
That's a PhD.
Exactly
My mother's
right.
a doctor.
Robin's mother has a doctorate. She's Dr. Mom, or whatever her name is.
By and large, medical doctors are very cautious. They have a reason to be, mainly for litigation, to be honest,
Yep.
for those types of purposes. But, there's no issue with it. But, I think because of where we are in the polarization of society, people take quotes and they run one. One group runs one way, the other group runs the other way. And nobody actually reads or listens to the actual statement and listens to all those qualifiers.
You mean like Harry's friends? You mean like Harry's friends who are all texting him today as he's driving down for the show about there's not going to be baseball because there have been some positive tests down on the Phillies camp in Clearwater and reportedly at the Blue Jays in Dunedin, and now the Tampa Bay Lightning hockey team is practicing. They don't have any cases, but they're doing it as a precaution.
And now a player on the PGA Tour just tested positive.
No!
Yes, 5 minutes ago it came out. Yeah.
Well, you look at Ezekiel Elliott, who to this point is the most high profile, at least since Von Miller tested positive. He's asymptomatic. I mean, everybody goes, he's not sick, he's not in a bad way. And this is a disease that has largely not affected young people with healthy immune systems.
Right.
So I think, the bigger issue is hospitalizations and serious cases of the disease. But, everybody runs with a positive test because it's easy and it's easy to stay. But the more testing you do, and everybody who's serious about this has been honest, the more testing you do, the more positives you're going to get. So the NFL knew this, and this is one of the reasons they didn't force and try to put mini camps on in late June, even though they could have, because as things started to reopening. They didn't want to deal with that headache. Turns out they still have to deal with that headache. And that's a PR battle. And, they're going to have to overcome that. But they're going to play. They're going to kick off September 10th. Write this down, chalk it up, put the audio, freezing cold takes. The kickoff is coming September 10th.
All right, John's on the record
he's
right
on the
now.
record. I love it.
What about the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio,
No,
August
I don't think
5th?
they're gonna
August
play
5th,
that.
John. I'm going to put you on the
Cowboys,
record
Steelers,
right now.
John.
No, I don't think they're going to play that for that exact reason. Because you have to deal. You understand if you're the NFL, they're going to have to deal with these PR headaches, and they're going to have, and they don't want to do that earlier than they have to do it. So I don't think we're going to see the Hall of Fame game. But it wouldn't surprise me if we do. I just don't think it's a necessity. So that's easily canceled. And, I mean, they canceled that one year because the field wasn't good enough. It's not like there's not precedent. So I don't think we're going to see a Hall of Fame game.
A lot of doctor references now on the Twitch stream, John. Of course, Doc Johnson. How can you forget Doc Johnson?
Sure.
He used to have stores, and they shut those down, Harry, and that's an outrage. I think Doc Johnson products should be back. Dr. Oz, Dr. Feelgood, Dr. Johnny Fever, and Dr. Death Steve Williams, Harry.
Oh, yeah. Doogie Howser, too,
Yes.
MD. All right, John, the Los Angeles Chargers have apparently won the bid for Hard Knocks this season on HBO.
I don't think they won.
Yeah. do you want to make a wager that they also signed Colin Kaepernick?
Well, Anthony Lynn said they put him on the workout list, and it probably should have been. I mean, every team should have him on the workout list. I'm not sure how meaningful that is. But, I mean, they drafted a quarterback in the first round.
I know.
They have Tyrod Taylor, who's going to start the season as the starter, presumably. I just don't think there's a fit for him there. And a lot of this has to do, I mean, this is a two-way street. I think people don't understand in a lot of ways, and I've tried to find out 100 times. I can't give you an answer. I don't know what Colin wants or what he wants to play for. Would he accept a backup job? Would he accept a veteran minimum salary? I have no idea. Does he want to compete for a starting job? If he wants to compete for a starting job, you know, he's probably not looking for a situation where they spent a top-tier pick on a quarterback because, you know, it's not going to work out there long term. They've made their decision. Just how long do they get to Justin Herbert? So I don't necessarily think that's a fit for him.
Will there be a bidding war now for Colin Kaepernick after everybody no longer wanted him just a few short months ago?
No, and that's one of the things. You know, I think he's got to be more clear on what type of situation he wants. If he does want to be a backup, and he's very comfortable in that type of scenario, and he's very comfortable playing for the veteran minimum, I don't know if that would be considered a bidding war, but there would probably be more opportunities for him. I would say that.
By the way, I have breaking news from Portland, Oregon, one of our favorite cities in America. The George Washington statue in Portland has been toppled and covered in burning U.S. flags. I guess he must have told a lie and chopped down the wrong cherry tree. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm a big, you know, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. So I don't think it's a good idea to erase history. You know, put the context on it, do whatever you want to do. But I'm not a big fan of erasing history. I don't think you learn much from that.
Well, you don't have to learn anything then. Then it's, you know, it's like I always used to say to Cowboy fans. The NFL did not start in 1960. The Dallas Cowboys did. And so they thought as 1960 as year one in the National Football League and wanted to forget about all the NFL championships that occurred before then. Same thing that's going on now with American history.
And who won the championship in 1960? The Eagles.
You're giving most fans too much credit. I mean, they're not going back to 1960.
Well, Eagles fans were before the Super Bowl. That's the last time they won a championship, John.
Yeah.
You know who
I mean, most people don't know it existed in 1999.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
that's true.
Forget about 1960. You go back to those generations, and that's where, you know, you talk about ESPN did that recent top NBA players of all time. It's like nobody existed. Scottie Pippen's number 21. I mean, in what world is that legitimate?
Exactly.
You know who's got the lowest odds or the best odds for
Colin Kaepernick?
Signing Kaepernick?
Do we have? Oh, we have odds update.
Yeah.
Eagles do.
Rothstein just sent this to me from USA Today. No, they're not the Eagles. The Baltimore
I
Ravens.
get my numbers from Bet Online.
Oh, really?
BetOnline.com, baby.
The Baltimore Ravens are 2-1 according to this.
Who does
followed by the Seahawks?
Who does BetOnline have?
They had the Eagles last at 125-1. I forget who that. I don't have it in front of me. But
what about the Chicago Bears? John DeFilippo says they've got the best quarterback room in the league.
I love John because I know John personally. He's a great position coach. And, in that it's the same thing. I mean, he did a Zoom conference call with Chicago area reporters. I mean, he said a lot of stuff, and they just take things out and run with it. I mean, one thing he said is how horrible Mitch Trubisky's mechanics are. I mean, he knows. He is one of the best mechanics coaches in this league, and he always told me that Carson Palmer, which I agree with, anybody watch Carson Palmer film, that guy has the perfect mechanics as far as playing the quarterback position. And Mitchell Trubisky is the exact opposite of that. He knows it. He talked about how bad his footwork is, how he needs to correct it. And if he can correct it, which is unlikely at this stage, you got to be honest about that, well, then he's got everything else to succeed. He's certainly going to be better than Nick Foles, but I don't have much confidence in him. Harry, you're a golf guy. How difficult is it to change your golf swing? It's part of your DNA.
Well,
That's like mechanics are for quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, Tiger's changed his 3 or 4 times. It's not easy, but,
you can do it, but it's really hard.
Look at Charles Barkley. He's had the best teachers on earth, and he still goes up there. And the mechanics always. I'm the same way. I got that chicken wing thing going on.
Chicken wing?
Got the chicken wing, and I like chicken wings, but not mine. Mine is always ridiculed. Most other chicken wings are good, Harry. So I agree with you, John. It's hard to figure out. But we have breaking news from the high-speed Nick Foles wire. Nick Foles has just posted a picture of his beautiful new son. Duke. Did you see the picture?
I have seen them, yeah.
Beautiful kid, man. We always say this about babies because all babies, let's be honest, look pretty much the same. And what are you going to say? That's a beautiful, it's an ugly baby, but Duke is cute. Look at the little eyes. Did you see him, Robin? Duke Nathan
I'm looking
Foles.
at him right now. Hang on, I'll pull him up on the Twitch
He's got the hoodie on. He's got the hat. He looks good. I think right now he's better than Mitch Trubisky. I think they should run him out there and let him throw a couple balls.
Poor Mitch.
Okay, that's pretty adorable. I have not all babies. Like a lot of babies, their faces are all squished in and puffy.
His eyes are wide open.
Yeah,
wasn't that a song? They're going to write a song about it with eyes wide open. He'll be the lead singer of that.
Can we still make jokes? Because, Nick's reputation. I don't know if we still make that, but I feel bad for his wife anytime I see
exactly.
that.
Come on, John. I did something similar to that yesterday, and I got booed. But, John, we'll let you go on that.
All right.
There's nothing wrong with having a dad who can
make jokes anymore.
There's nothing wrong with having a father who walks tall and carries a big stick. I mean, come on, man.
That's true.
And on that note,
I should know better.
One last thing I got to ask you about, John, and that is what's going on with the Niners. They got a bunch of injuries now. And, of course, it's early in the year, but, we talked about yesterday, we had another one of their players hurt.
Deebo Samuel.
No, somebody else in addition to Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, but Deebo's the big one. I mean, he had a great rookie year, and I think, that's one of those things where Kyle Shanahan had the ability to take a guy who was maybe a little bit raw, and that's why he fell in the draft a little bit, and he got him those manufactured touches. So he was getting the ball as a runner, as a receiver, all kinds of ways. And I think you're going to see a lot of that moving forward because they scaled back practice times, even in the best, case scenario with no COVID-19. The new CBA scales back practices and how much you can work with players. So you're going to get a lot of these raw players who are just great athletes, and everybody should be looking at Kyle Shanahan's film and watch how he utilized Deebo Samuel last year because it was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, he got the broken foot yesterday, and then I'm trying to see who I saw it earlier this morning. Another one of their players got injured in just in warm-up. So, that's what happens a lot. We always talk about these teams we're putting odds on, and then you see guys go down in training camp.
Brandon Brooks.
Yeah, Brandon Brooks is a huge loss.
That's big.
Huge loss.
Just running, rehabbing at the NovaCare complex. Boom, there goes the Achilles. And, arguably the best guard in the NFL. Now you got to – that's the thing about the NFL. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. It's all those wins and losses games. They don't matter much when you get to the the week the game is actually played.
And the one big story is that in Washington, D.C., they haven't changed the name of the franchise, but they did get rid of the statue of the old owner.
George Preston Marshall.
Is there a statue of him down there?
Yeah, there was.
I didn't notice that. Who the hell knows? You think any Redskin fan goes down there and knows who he is?
No idea. I think it was that old RFK, I think, right?
I want to give credit to the Onion or the Babylon Bee, one of the two.
The Babylon Bee is hitting it out of the park every single
That's Tony's
hour.
favorite.
We're having the editor-in-chief of the Babylon Bee come on the show on Monday.
Next week.
Really?
So it's them. Check if it's them or the Onion. They did a great story where the Redskins changed their names, and it was the D.C. Redskins.
Yes, that was Babylon Bee. Babylon Bee, I'm telling you, they have the great, and it's not just headline writers, John. They write great headlines, but then they do an actual full story on the fake headline, which makes it even more genius.
Yeah, George Preston Marshall's statue was outside old RFK Stadium.
Is that still there? Why did they tear the stadium down, or is it still there?
They're going to if they haven't already. I know that.
But they did change it to the D.C. Redskins, so that's much more, because nobody wants to have Washington associated with their name, because then they'd have to get rid of Washington and the Redskins. Mm-hmm. Then what do you call them?
That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
If Washington statues are coming down because he owned slaves, and the Redskins are offensive and they don't take it down ever, then they're going to have to get rid of both names. That's never happened, I don't think, in the NFL.
That's double the offense. Yeah, the stadium's still up.
Okay,
the stadium's still up, but it's going to come down.
What do they use it for, like tractor pulls and
probably. They used to play soccer in it. I think they have a new soccer stadium now too.
There's a lot of Washingtons in this country, not just cities, states, everything. High schools, all that kind of stuff. That's a multi-layered problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. You're not getting a better breakdown segment than that. Everything that's important and things even that aren't important. We don't leave any stone unturned, Harry. John McMullen. John, have a great weekend. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
There he is. Just think of all the names, streets, avenues.
I know.
I mean, there isn't any city in this country.
Washington Ave in Philly here.
Elementary schools.
Yeah. No name lights up the Twitch stream like McMullen, though.
No, absolutely.
I mean, every post has his name in it.
He's really the MVP of the show.